You said. Do, no. Yes. Hey, what's up, guys? We're still setting it up, so give me 1 second. All right. Mixer. Where am I going, Deathsie? Just so you know, Ixo just said we both sound okay. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish or if it's working or not, but I don't know. This is crazy wizardry to me, but they just said they. I mean, he just said in my channel that he can hear you. Well, now somebody said they can't hear you. But that's weird because Ixo said we can. You both sound okay, so I'm not really sure what the deal is. Okay, they can both. They hear us both on your stream and only me on my stream, is what it sounds like.
Talking.
It's moving now.
Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so that'll be up to you to adjust the audios, but that seems good.
Okay, cool.
All right, so you can go ahead and stop screen sharing here.
Okay. Stay on the call though, or no? Ow. Why are you clawing me, kitty?
Okay, give me a second here. I am gonna try to capture your video here.
I feel weird with my cam smaller than yours. Mage Market's
Thanks,
awesome.
guys, for being patient. We're almost done here.
Mage Market's awesome, but I'm going to turn off the camera frame for the moment. Maybe a little bit of OCD, I don't know, but it's kind of bothering me. I gotta have my cam the same size as Deathsie's here, or just way bigger if I stick with that.
Okay. Oop.
I don't know what's going on now, but okay.
Okay, a little bit of inception here. Give us a second.
I see my face moving around a lot. Should I stop moving my camera?
Wow, that's yeah. There's a lot of layers going in here. Wait, Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I have, for the record stream, I have no idea what he's doing right now. I do see myself twice.
Ben, you can still hear me, right, Ben?
I hear you perfectly. Meow.
Hello, Benjamin.
I hear you. You don't hear me, apparently.
Is Ben muted or something? I think I don't know if Ben's muted. I think Ben muted himself. Thing.
Meow.
We can hear him in his stream. Can you guys tell Ben that he's muted here? I think. Oh, hold on here. Let me see what this is about. Hold on here.
I don't know, but I can hear you, and my stream can hear us both, apparently. And thank
Why
you
is his
for
connection so
subscribing, Magic
bad? Let's see. Hold
Mongooses.
on.
Very much appreciated.
Tell Ben to rejoin. Here. Can
What?
you rejoin here? I can hear you on his stream. Oh, really? Oh. How come Ben can't hear me here?
I can hear you.
Or I can't hear Ben. Let's see here. It shows a loading thing for Ben here.
Thanks for subscribing, McConman. Please don't con us.
He
out
can
of
hear me?
anything.
Oh, see.
Also, Rokes, appreciate the
Let me see if I can
subscriptions.
rejoin this. I hope it doesn't break anything.
That's actually the right ratio, right? 1 Deathsie, 1 Kitty, and 2 Benesses. I think we got this perfect.
Ben, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Why is this not working? I think Ben needs to rejoin. Ben, if you hear me, can you rejoin the call here?
Yes?
You can hear both. Well, I can't hear. Ben?
Yo.
Okay, let's go ahead and share this again here.
Just to be clear, I can hear you the entire time. The entire time you were talking, I could hear you.
That makes sense. Okay.
All right, so what do you want me to do?
I think you don't have to do anything.
Thanks for subscribing, Shimmermore and Snuggly D. Appreciate the support for this bonus stream. Thank you to everybody subscribing tonight and, just supporting my content in general. Ow, don't bite me. That's not supporting my content.
Yeah. Also, thank you, Dragon Witch, for subscribing as well. Thank you so much. Welcome. We are going to be doing like a,
My cat's attacking me.
Shorter thank yous and stuff today. But all right, I think that everything's working properly. If there aren't any further complaints, then we can go and get started. Does everything look good, guys?
Wait, I have a complaint.
Okay.
My cat's biting me. She's attacking me. She doesn't seem to like the headphones. She doesn't usually bite me. Stop it, kitty.
Maybe she doesn't like this Deathsie guy. He's like,
why are you attacking these headphones? Stop attacking me. Okay, that was my only complaint. I love my kitty, but if she's going to bite me and scratch me, then we've got problems. The cats have adjusted to the move okay. My 2 cats, Ariel and Reptar, always fight, and they're fighting as usual. And Pickles and Lyra are good. And all in all, the cats seem fine.
Yeah, Ben's video is not going to be synced because, well, I'm capturing it from his stream. So it's definitely not going to be synced. But there's nothing much that we can do about that. That's just the best that we've got. Okay. Well, without further ado, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from both my stream and Ben's stream to our fun and casual Throne of Eldraine card review. So, first of all, thank you, Ben, for joining me for the card review. It's just super fun to just have you on and for us. And I'm looking forward to just chatting about just random Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me. I mean, it's always fun to chat about Magic, and I'm kind of scared because I haven't actually seen like the vast majority of these cards at all before. I didn't even look at the previews today or anything like that.
Yep. I also haven't looked at the previews either. So I think that for that reason, also a lot of people haven't looked at the previews either. And a lot of people are going to be listening to this on their drive to work and stuff like that. So I think the best thing for us to do is the format that we're going to go with is we are going to look at each card one by one. And we're going to go in numerical order. And I think let's go ahead with taking turns reading by color. So like I'll take white and then you take blue, kind of like that.
Sure.
And we are going to for time's sake, we're gonna only try to talk about cards that we think that are very interesting. Like the cards that we just don't think that are that interesting, we can just give it just a generic rating. Basically the rating system that I use and that Ben's agreed to use today is that it's basically a 5-star system. you know, like 5 stars down to 0 stars, with also S at the top end. So that's like the 6-star. You know, 3 stars or C is extremely average. So these are your cards like, you know, a Greenwood Sentinel or something like that. Just a 2-mana 2/2, just nothing special. A are very, very good cards. They're like cards that you're really happy to first pick that aren't quite bombs, that don't quite win you the game, but they're very, very good. Cards like
Would that
Cloud
be?
Kinseer.
What about like
Hmm?
uncommon Chandra from M20? Would that be an S or would that be an A?
So for me, I think that that is actually an S tier card, but that's one of the few cards that would kind of break that threshold. But it's very debatable, right? If we had like plus ratings and stuff, it would be something like an A plus or like S minus. But I think that this rating system for me, it's very valuable in the sense that you don't need to have like specific ratings, like exact ratings, just like the general ballpark of where we think it belongs makes a lot of sense to me. Um,
Yeah, no, it
and
makes
then
sense
all
because these are
Mhm.
just loose estimates anyway. We've never played with the cards. In fact, we're going to be reading a lot
Yeah,
of them ourselves.
yep, exactly. So a lot of these are going to be first impressions. So yeah, any other questions from either chat or Ben about how this is going to work? Oh yeah. Also, what one of my viewers is going to be jotting down our just generic ratings and stuff like that in a document so that we can refer to it later.
Okay.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, again, welcome. We are going to start with the white cards here and then go all the way through. It is going to take a while, but we will try to be. We'll try to save time on like the cards that aren't that interesting, so that we actually have time to talk about like the really really cool stuff that's going on.
So when you're
So.
going, so how about
Mhm.
like when you're going, I'll just like say agree at the end when you give your rating, or if I disagree like by a lot, then we can like discuss it, and then same when I'm going. Like you can just like next, or we can just discuss it if like we disagree or something, or if it's just like super
Sure.
interesting, I guess too.
I
But
sure. I think that sounds good. Okay, let's go ahead and start here. Card number 1, Acclaimed Contender, 3 mana, 3/3 rare, Human Knight. When Acclaimed Contender enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a knight, aura, equipment, or legendary artifact card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
am I taking white or you?
I think the thing is that the opposite person, I guess, from who reads it, maybe has the first say,
Oh, okay.
and
I mean,
then I'll chip
yeah,
in after.
that makes perfect sense. Okay, I assume this is like an A. It's a 3 mana 3/3 that draws a card when it comes into play, and better than draws a card, it draws like a knight or something good. But
Mhm.
it's not like a broken rare like an S. I don't think.
Yeah, for me, this kind of feels like a strong uncommon. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's a rare. You know, it's just very normally statted, and yes, I mean, in the right deck, it's going to be very, very good, right? It's just like a 3/3 that replaces itself. Um, yeah, I mean, I also agree. I think it's like an A. It's not that exciting to me though, I
Yeah,
suppose.
not definitely not an A plus. Like this isn't like if uncommon Chandra is kind of borderline between an S and an A.
Yep.
This is just an A or an A minus or whatever. This is not. This is a card you're probably gonna first pick, but it's not like super duper exciting or whatever.
Yep. And I haven't seen all the cards either, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some uncommons that you straight pick up over this as well. All right, let's go and look at the next card here. All that glitters. I think this is a Smash Mouth reference here. Okay,
It
2 mana
is gold.
uncommon.
All that
Yeah,
glitters is
all
gold.
that glitters is gold, right? So enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. What do you think about this?
These cards are just so contextual. Like I have no idea how much bounce there's
Yeah,
going to
that's
be that
true.
punishes creature enchantments, how many playable artifacts and enchantments you're going to play. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, like I'm down for people understand like we're going to be wrong and this is just first impressions. But how do you rate a card like this?
That's true. We can also like call for a rain check on certain cards like this as well, and then just skip. I think that it doesn't really make sense to give a rating for a card like this right now. Though I will say that the set does have food tokens. I don't know how many food tokens there are, but you know, that's an artifact that pumps us up as well. But
Good point.
yeah,
Like I said, this card could easily be as high as a B or an F. You know what I mean? It could be like,
yeah, exactly.
it's just like, I mean, if this is going to give +3/+3 or +4/+4 for 2 mana, and there's not much common bounce and stuff, then this could just be this could be an easy B, or this card could be totally unplayable. I just don't know how we would like assess that.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. All right, let's go and skip this one here. Next card here, Archon of Absolution. 4 mana, 3/2, uncommon Archon. Flying, it has protection from white, which is interesting because it's white itself. Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 mana for each of those creatures.
Probably a B. This is a card that I'm happy to put in my deck, but I don't think it's like something I'm happy to first pick.
Yeah, and I think in Dominaria, like the Bayard, or whatever his name is, Bayard, the 4 mana 2/4 legendary vigilance guy, also has this effect as well. Like your opponent's things can't attack unless they pay a tax, and that tax is 1 mana. This is 4 mana 3/2, and I think that with that ability on it, it's probably gonna be pretty obnoxious playing against it. I think I am also gonna go for a B. I think that this card is gonna be very, very solid, and you're gonna be pretty upset when your opponents play it. But it's not like completely broken or anything. With 2 toughness, I assume that there's gonna be stuff in the format that just kills it. Okay. Next card here, Ardenvale Paladin. 4 mana 2/5. Human Knight at common. Adamant. At least 3 white mana was spent to cast a spell. Ardenvale Paladin enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. What's your first impression of this card?
I mean, it depends how valuable knights are, but kind of like a C, like maybe a B minus C plus. 4 mana 3/6 is pretty good. 4 mana 2/5 is not really like good at all. Probably a C.
Yeah.
Probably not even a B, but like I'm guessing this is like a C. I mean, maybe you'll want it if you have knight synergies and stuff like that, which I think is probably a thing in this format. But as a whole, this card looks like a C to me.
How do you feel about the Adamant ability? Do you think that's going to be pretty easy to activate, even in like even in a 2-color deck? Obviously, we're not assuming a monocolor deck.
I mean, if you're 2 colors and you can play like 9 planes, 8 of your other color, I mean, how often are you going to have 3 planes by turn 4 instead of like 2 and 2? I don't know the math there. It's probably relatively likely because if you have a single other land in your hand on turn 4, and so you drew 5 or more lands by turn 4, then over 50% of the time you're going to have 3 planes, and you can just choose to have played them. So, I mean, I don't really know the answer to that, and, we need our human calculator for that. But, I mean, I don't think it'll be that hard to hit Adamant if it's your main color.
Yeah, I think so as well. And it seems like, I mean, most decks in Limited anyways aren't usually 50-50 split. Like, every once in a while you have, like, like you're staggered in one direction. So, I guess in that sense, this card, or all of the Adamant cards actually, will go up in value. But I definitely agree with just a C at first impression. It's just a card that's not exciting. Knights seem like they want to be attacking, not really blocking, but who knows yet. Okay. Next card here. So this is the first card of the adventure cycle that we've seen. So let me go ahead and read the card, and let me explain a little bit of how this works for people who haven't seen it before. Ardenvale Tactician, 3 mana 2/3, flying human knight at common. Now, on the bottom left side, you'll see that there is an adventure mode for it. So, Dizzying Swoop, it's instant speed. You can pay 2 mana, and you can tap up to 2 target creatures. So the way that this works is that you can, from your hand, you can play the bottom left portion of it. Now, after you play that, the creature goes to exile, and then you're allowed to cast the creature from exile. Obviously, you have to pay all of its mana cost and everything. So these cards are just inherently 2-for-1s built into itself. What are your first impressions on not only this card, but also this mechanic?
I mean, the mechanic is really cool. I actually like both of the mechanics, the main ones, food tokens and adventures, because they give you things to spend your mana on, give you more effects to play throughout a game, so you don't end up, like, just losing because one person drew, like, one or two more lands than the other. If you can
Uh-huh.
both keep casting things, then you play, like, more interesting games of Magic. This particular card is weird because, I mean, you'd want to just play a 3 mana 2/3 flyer on turn 3 a lot of the time. That would be good. But tap
Mhm.
2 creatures in the early game is pretty bad. You're not going to want to spend 2 mana on turns 1 through 4 to tap their creatures.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I mean, it's flexible since it's instant speed. You can use it on like defense. You can use it on offense the same way that we use the cards like Sonic Assault in Guilds of Ravnica. And tapping two things is a really big deal, but it's awkward because I feel like a lot of times people are gonna get trapped into just, well, I want to get value out of this card, so I'm not gonna cast this 2/3 on 3 for um. So I definitely think that these cards also raise the general skill cap, at least initially as well.
Oh,
You just
yeah, I
have
love
a lot more
choices.
options.
Yeah, I love
Hmm.
choices. I mean, if you look at a card like this, 3 mana 2/3 flyer, how good is that going to be in the format? We don't know. Generally, a card like that would be like a C. It's a solid playable. It's not filler. It's not an early pick necessarily. It's nothing special, right? A 3 mana 2/3
Hmm.
flyer. But this card could also win you a game that a 3 mana 2/3 flyer doesn't win you because on turn 6 you top deck this, and suddenly it's tap 2 creatures, attack, and play a 2/3 flying blocker, right? So,
Yeah,
so a
it
card,
seems pretty obnoxious.
yeah. So like, cards like this are really interesting. Like, this card is clearly better than if it didn't have the adventure text, right? Like, than a 3 mana 2/3 flyer. But how much better, right? Like,
Yep.
how much better is this than 3 mana 2/3 flyer? I don't really know. I'm gonna go with this is like a C plus B minus, but maybe it's more of just a B. Maybe the tap 2 creatures makes this substantially better. I mean, I guess if you drew 2 3 drops, you could play the other one, and then you could save it to play the tap 2 creatures. And if you only drew 1 3 drop, this, then you would just play it every time on turn 3. So I mean, I guess it's nice that, like, it can basically be a powerful late game spell or a 3 drop. That probably adds a lot of value. So maybe more of a B. Like, definitely not an A or an S. Like, I don't think this card is broken by any means. And
Hmm.
it is hard to evaluate adventure without playing with it. We've really never seen anything like this before in the 25 years I've been playing Magic. But I think maybe more like a B, just like a solid B.
Yep, I think I agree with that as well. I think it's a solid B. I think that it's definitely above average. I don't think it's gonna be excellent. Like, I would be very surprised if this card is like A or anything higher than that. I think that B is a very solid assessment for this, and I definitely agree with that.
Wait, somebody said, wait. So somebody said you have to play the adventure first. You can't just cast the creature half of these?
No, that's not true. So the thing is that if you want, what you cannot do is you cannot play the creature and then cast the
Right,
adventure.
right. Like, if you play the creature, like if on turn 3 you tap 3 and play this creature, then the adventure part is just gone, basically. Like, you just don't go on any adventures, right?
Yep,
But
exactly.
you can on turn 3 just tap 3 mana and put a 2/3 in play with this card in your hand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then it is a nice split card because it's a very solid 3 drop, and then it's way more powerful than that in the late game. So yeah, I think assuming that it works like that, which is what I thought. I mean, I've read how adventure works. Then yeah, I think this is a B. I think it's a pretty solid 3 drop. If you drew 2 different 3 drops, you'll play the other one. If you only drew one, you're gonna play this on turn 3. You're not gonna save it. And then if you draw this on turn 5 or 6, then like I said, you can get both halves. So
And
I'm gonna go
honestly,
with a B.
yeah, I'm gonna go with the B as well. And honestly, even if you have this as your only card in your opening hand, your opponent plays a 2 drop, you tap it, and you save 2 life, and you just untap with this. I think that feels like you got a lot of value out of your card as well, even though that 2 damage may or may not be relevant. Okay, next card here, one of the crowd favorites here, Bartered Cow, 4 mana, 3/3 Ox at common. When Bartered Cow dies or when you discard it, create a food token. And a food token is it's an artifact. You can pay 2 mana, tap it to sacrifice the food token, and you gain 3 life.
This card is exactly why the best mechanic of all time should be Evergreen. Imagine if this card just had cycling too. It would just be
Yeah.
perfect, right? You could cycle it, draw a card, and get a food token. No big deal. It's just an artifact that sits in play to gain you 3 life. Or you could cast it. It would be so cool. But as is, I mean, this card is like gotta be like a D to a C. Like
It's got to be like a D, right?
yeah,
Oh,
like
man.
it's playable, but you're not. It can't be a very good card. Like this has just got to be like, this is filler or like filler plus. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with putting a hill giant with a little bit of upside in your deck, but like this can't be a good card, right?
All right, Ben. Hot take here. Do you think that the day and age, the time of hill giants are dead?
Yeah, I mean, look at Octoprofit. M20 is a grindy format, not a particularly aggressive one. Octoprofit's a 4-mana 3/3 that scries 2. Scry 2 is a big deal by turn 4. You often have however many lands you need. So bottoming a land on turn when you have 4 already is often just draw a card, basically. And Octoprofit was filler, right? So, I mean, if Octoprofit is filler, this card has to be filler minus, because this card can't be as good as Octoprofit. I mean, formats are always different. I'm evaluating this card, how it would play in M20. Maybe this format there'll be a lot of ways to sack creatures for profit. Also, like, just creatures' power and toughness matters a lot, right? Like, if this format is filled with 2/3s, then a 3/3 is going to overperform. If this format is filled with 3/2s, then a 3/3 is going to underperform. Because 3/3 trumps 2/3, and 3/3 trades with 3/2. That's why everything's always so format dependent, and I don't really like to do stuff like this, but I'm doing it because I think it's going to be fun. But in M20, this card would be like bad filler, because, I mean, Octoprofit was filler, and Scry 2 is definitely... Scry 2, when it comes into play, every single time you tap the 4 mana, you get Scry 2, assuming the spell doesn't get countered.
That's
this
true.
is a lot better than when this creature eventually dies, you get a food token. So this has to be like a D.
Yeah.
It has to be like a D. Not even a C.
Not only that, but like M20, even though it's a very good set and a powerful set, it's still a core set, and we kind of have to assume that non-core sets are gonna have a higher power level as well. So like hill giants, I don't know. Like there's got to be better stuff to do, but I'll be happy if this card sees play. Like if this card's just the most busted card in the format for whatever reason, I'll be very happy. But I'm gonna go ahead and give it a D as well.
This card needs cycling too. 2 colorless, discard this card, draw a card, put a food token in play. That would be a sweet, sweet split card. Like if you had the option to cycle this or cast it, that would be a sweet card.
Cycling, I definitely agree that it should be evergreen. Because again, just the more options, the more chances you get to play real games of Magic. I think that's just great for everybody. So, okay, here next card here, Beloved Princess, 1 mana, 1/1, human noble at common, lifelink. Beloved Princess cannot be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater.
I'm going to be saying this a lot tonight, but this is a card that's going to vary greatly format to format. Assuming there's nothing that punishes 1 toughness, really, and there's ways to enhance it that are profitable, it could be a C, maybe it's a D, maybe it's even just an F if it's not a format where life matters. I mean, this can't be a very good card, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way this is an A or an S ever, like, in any formats. But I mean, in the dark, I'm going to go with, like, a D, but it's possible it's all the way up to, like, a C or a B, or it's just a total F. Like, it just depends on the format.
That's true. I personally am going to go with the D as well. I think that, I mean, just looking at this card itself, it can't be blocked by big creatures, right? So things with 3 or greater. But the thing is that you don't mind if they block it with their big creatures, right? Because that big creature is not attacking. So it's like, it's the opposite of what would be better. It'd be better if it can't be blocked by things with power 2 or less, I think. Because, well, then they need to hold back a big thing in order to block it. And I think that's pretty obnoxious. But the way that it is here, again, it's format dependent, but it's nothing exciting. 1 mana, 1/1 lifelink, like Timmy at FNM will play it, and will love Beloved Princess. But outside of that, that's not really a card that you kind of want to be playing in limited. I think I'm gonna go with the D, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's even an F.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if it was an F. But if there's good equipment that's cheap and efficient, or adventures that put counters on things, you might want to play this on turn 1 and then play your 2 mana adventure that puts +1/+1 on a creature, and then later you can now cast it as a creature. So that's why it's so hard to evaluate cards like in a vacuum. But I agree, like, in a vacuum, that card's probably a D, and it could even be an F.
Yeah, that's true. And there's a Timmy in my chat who's offended, actually. Okay, I'm sorry, Tim. Okay, next card here, Charming Prince, 2 mana, 2/2, rare. This is Reed Duke's reveal card, I believe. Human and Noble. When Charming Prince enters the battlefield, you get to choose one of the following 3. First one is Scry 2. Second is you gain 3 life. Thirdly, exile another target creature you own. Return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So it's kind of like a Teferi's Time Twist ability on that third one there.
Well, seeing how it's my invitational card, I have to give it a 10, right? This card is just perfect. You can't do any better than this, right?
How perfect is it?
I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, it's the best there ever was. I mean, come on. I mean, it's the best invitational card. How can you do better than that?
That's true.
But no, I would go with like a B minus probably. Like, I mean, the abilities are pretty useful. Sometimes you're gonna blink something that's like pacified or something and free it up. Sometimes you just really need 3 life to put yourself out of like reach range in a game that you can't lose otherwise. But like maybe you can't close out anytime soon. Scry 2 on a 2 mana card is a pretty big game. Like, anytime you have a 2-lander, this means you're going to be able to dig to your other lands. And while a 2 mana 2/2 is normally a horrendous draw in the late game, anytime you draw this in the late game, you're going to, on average, scry 1 land to the bottom, so then that's practically draw a card. So I'm gonna go with a B, like B minus, kind of a B.
So, I guess let's imagine this card in a pack. If this card was like in your second pack, would you be happy to pick this up? Like,
would I be happy to
pick
take
up a
this
Charming Prince?
second pick, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think
like
that's
pack 1 second pick.
I think this is like not a card you're happy to first pick. Like, you're probably pretty medium on second picking it, but like a third or fourth pick, like, yeah, you're going to be pretty happy with this.
It's a weird card because it's flexible and it's cheap, which I feel like it's actually a lot more important in constructed. Whereas in limited, like, the most important ability is probably going to be the third ability, even though the other 2 are very flexible as well. But like, in terms of power level, the first 2 are very, very fair in limited, and then the third one, results may vary.
Yeah, like 20% of the time, the third one is just like freeing up a pacified creature or something just totally busted. And then the other 80% of the time, you wouldn't even use the third ability. It basically would do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm also going to go with a B, but I feel like it's like a higher B. It is a card that's easy to play, but it's a card that, at least for limited, it looks better than it is. I think it's like when your opponent plays Charming Prince, unless they're freeing up like their giant creature or something, you're just like, okay, well, whatever.
Thanks for subbing, Aether Netto. Very much appreciated.
Welcome to Ben's Dueling Academy.
Dude, I have my official certificate. Like, this is going to be the stream room. I literally moved like 2 days ago, but it's going on the wall in the background as soon as I get a chance to put it up.
Oh my goodness.
I'm an official graduate of Deathsie's Dueling Academy.
Yeah, so our academy, and also thanks in part to Richard Garfield, Chancellor. We granted Ben an honorary doctorate. So
wait, don't tell them I didn't actually pass the classes. What the heck?
No. You were too good that you applied for the university, and we just straight gave you the degree. So. Okay, next card here, Circle of Loyalty, the first mythic rare we've seen, 6 mana, legendary artifact, and it's a white legendary artifact as well. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each knight you control. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Wow, there's a lot of stuff on this. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. And then its final ability is 4 mana to tap, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance.
Just looks like an S to me. I mean, this thing's making 3/3s because it's making 2/2s that are getting +1/+1. It impacts the board the turn you play it. You probably have out like 1 knight on average and limited. So you got 5 mana. Give all your creatures +1/+1 for the rest of the game. Tap, make a 3/3. So sounds like an S to me. I don't know.
And then if you happen to have legendary spells, and I've seen already like quite a few uncommon legendary creatures, similar to Dominaria. So you also get to just get free knights if you have or you get to like develop other things without activating this as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about this. It's just a very clear cut S. Okay, let's go to move on here. Cool card. I don't know if that'll see any constructed play. Probably not.
Well, it depends if there's like a night deck and if there are sweepers. You can't cast that card for 6 or 5 in constructed, but if you're casting that card for 3, it's a heck of a card. So
yeah, that's true.
It really just depends on if there's an all night deck and how easily they die and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, this is an F. This is This is for constructed. Let's go to the next. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be this is going to take a long time. Let's not talk about clear Fs. You're never going to use this ever in limited.
Yeah, that's true. Let me just go and read it real quick for the people who are going to be listening to this as a podcast, but then we'll just move on from this. So 1 mana, Deafening Silence, uncommon enchantment. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn, and I agree that's an F. Let's move on. This is going to be our second adventure card. 1 mana, Fairy Guide Mother, flying 1/1. It has an adventure on it. Sorcery speed, Gift of the Fae. 2 mana, target creature gains +2/+1 and gains flying until end of turn.
I'm going to go with like a C. Like I said, it's hard to rate adventure, but this could definitely jump a creature, deal some damage, and then you get a 1/1 flyer. It's going to depend largely on how good a 1/1 flyer is in the format. But I do like, so I think, here's the thing, this I want to talk about it a little bit because it's a kind of a concept. I don't think people understand 1 mana 1/1 flying that well in limited. If you play a 1 mana 1/1 flyer turn 1 in limited, that the games don't end quickly, right? So you just got a body in play, even though it's just a 1/1, that might deal the opponent 7, 8, 9 damage, right? Before the game ends on turn 7, 8, or 9, right? The problem with 1 mana 1/1 flyers in limited is that if you draw them on turn 5, they do nothing, right? If you play a 1/1 flyer on turn 5, now you're going to deal them 2 damage before the game ends. Now you have no card. So if you draw this on turn 5, if you're an aggro deck, if white is the aggressive color, which it probably is, then you get to jump a creature, deal them a bunch of damage, and then get a 1/1 flyer. So this card is a very aggressive card that has the ability to do a lot of damage. The more aggressive your deck is, the better this card is. The more defensive your deck is, the worse this card is. In the dark, I'm going to go with a C.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with C as well, and I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a D. But I could see this being very obnoxious, like your aggressive opponent, right? Like you're ready to block, and then they just fly their thing and then play a 1/1. But I don't know. I don't think it'll ever be that busted. I think I'm happy to go with a C. Like,
yeah, my point there, the reason I'm saying it's a C and not like a D or an F, like some people might think, is because on turn 1, a 1 mana 1/1 flyer is not a bad play out of an aggro deck. The problem is on turn 5, it's a horrendous play, and the upside of playing a 1/1 flyer on turn 1 does not outweigh the downside of when you draw it on turn 5. So that's why a card like this might be a lot better than it looks, because if you play it on turn 1, it's a fine creature to play just turn 1. You're an aggro deck, this is in your opening hand, you put it in play, you deal them 7, 8 damage with it. If you draw it on turn 5, now you're going to jump some ground creature that was blanked, deal them a bunch of damage all the same. So this is like a 1 mana 1/1 flyer with the upside of a turn being able to play at turn 1, with the downside of drawing at turn 5 removed. Assuming you're an aggro deck. If you're like a control deck, you're never going to put this card in your deck ever. But assuming you're an aggro deck, I think this card is a C.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's go to move on to this next card here. Flutter Fox. All right, 2 mana, 2/2 Fox at common. As long as you control an artifact or enchantment, Flutter Fox has flying.
Yeah, this is just an easier C to evaluate. This is going to be a solid playable. With food tokens, you're going to have an artifact plenty of the time. 2 mana, 2/2, sometimes flying. Sounds like a C.
Yep, sounds like a C to me. Let's go to move on here. Okay, it's an interesting one. 3 mana, common enchantment. Creatures you control get +0/+1. When Fortifying Provisions enters a battlefield, create a food token.
Definitely the kind of card that could vary, but probably pretty bad if white is an aggro color, which it probably is from what we've seen. So I'll go with a D.
Yep, I'm going to go with a D as well. Like, you pay 3 mana for something, you just get a food token, and you just give your guys a very minor buff. It seems very unexciting to me, so
you're gonna
D
have,
as well.
Yeah, you're going to have to want other synergies. Like, you're going to have to want that food token really bad, or you're going to have to want an enchantment in play pretty bad, things like that.
Giant Killer. 1 mana, 1/2. Human Peasant at rare. So this is Jack. It has an ability 2 mana to 2 mana and tap itself to tap target creature, and it also has an instant speed adventure. 3 mana, chop down, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater.
I'm gonna go with an A. This is clearly first pickable. It's a tapper. For those who aren't as old as me, tappers were always good in limited, and this is a 1 mana 1/2 tapper. So that without the adventure, this would probably be like a B. And the fact that once in a while you're going to destroy a good creature and then get a tapper is kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to go with a solid A here.
Yeah, and the fact that that you can destroy something with power 4 or greater instant speed, for the most part, that's a sorcery speed ability, right? Like that's a sorcery speed. Usually, like you destroy or exile something for 3 mana, and then this thing, like Giant Killer, just scales at every single point of the game. I wouldn't even be surprised if this card was like an A plus or even better than that. But I'm gonna go with an A as well. This card is just fantastic. It's a great Magic card.
Well, the good thing, somebody in my chat said they keep forgetting what the rating means. The ratings are literally on the screen. I've never used this rating system either, so I keep forgetting what they mean too sometimes, but then I just read Deathsie's rating criteria right on the screen.
Yeah, so just a recap for people. C is just average, just very average. And A is very, very good. And then obviously B is in between A and C, so that's above average. D is under average, so that's below average. F is the worst, and then we have a special criteria S for the cards that we think are so good that it goes beyond even A. Okay.
This looks like a C to me. Removal's usually good, but only killing small things is kind of a drawback. Then again, it is an artifact that sits in play, and it seems like there's synergy with that. We've already seen a card or two that wants you to have an artifact in play, like the Fox that gains flying. So
Yep.
it could range from like a C to a B. I mean, this is a card that you're definitely putting in your deck every time, which in my understanding is a C. And then whether it's a card you want to take like early or whether it's just something that always makes your deck, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna go C plus, B minus, basically.
Yeah, let me go and read this again, just real quick. A Glass Casket, 2 mana artifact at uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or less until it leaves the battlefield. Well, again, it is gonna be mana or format dependent, but I mean, it seems pretty reasonable to me. Like it's a fine rate, like either a C or B. I think I can go with the B. Maybe it seems a little bit better than just your average card. Like you'll pick it up a little bit earlier.
Yeah, with synergies, it could easily be a B. And like It does seem like you want an artifact in play synergies. So this could easily be more of a B in this format, whereas it would be a C in like M20 where you don't want to have an artifact in play. Like in M20, this is just kill a creature that costs 3 or less for 2 mana and sorcery speed. That's not that's more of a C. Remember, C isn't filler, right? C is like cards that you're happy to play, just nothing special. D is the like filler rating. D is like it's fine to put it in your deck, but your best decks won't make the cut. So I think in M20 this is a C, but I think in this format it will likely be a B because of the synergies of having the benefit of having an artifact in play.
Yep, and I don't think this card can ever be an A kind of thing. Like there's no way because it just doesn't scale well enough like with the game. Okay, next card here. This is a bit of a meme. Happily Ever After, right? I'm going to try to read this fast. 3 mana, rare enchantment. When Happily Ever After enters the battlefield, each player gains 5 life and draws a card. Okay, hold on, chat, all right? Hold on to your horses here. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors amongst permanents you control, and there are 6 or more card types among permanents you control and or in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game.
I mean, I'm not going to live happily ever after. I don't know if you are, but I'm never living happily ever after. This is an F to me. Can't imagine that you can pull this off. I don't really know.
Yeah, this is going to be an F for me, but however, this is on my bucket list for winning a game with Happily Ever After, and I'm going to do it in the first week, all right? So, but yeah, let's give that an F.
Challenge accepted. Deathsie says he's happily ever aftering week 1 of Throne Limited, so we'll see if that happens or not.
Okay, this is our second mythic we've seen, I believe. 6 mana, Harmonious Archon. Mythic rare, creature type is Archon. Flying. Non-Archon creatures have base power and toughness 3, so that's so that's everything, including your opponent's stuff as well.
Can I give my rating
Now
and then we
when-
go to the next slide with no discussion?
Yeah, sure.
This
When
pro-
Harmonious Archon enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens.
this will likely be the best card in the format. I mean, I don't know if it is. I haven't even seen like 3/4 of the cards in the format. But this is literally a 6-mana 4/5 flyer that also gives you 2 3/3s and makes all of their creatures like the same size as yours. So it's basically unbeatable unless there's a lot of direct removal that kills it. I mean, it probably won't actually be the best card because it can just die to removal, and then you just got left 2 1/1 tokens, which is good, but not a big deal. But this is definitely an S. Like, you're not. This is a bomb rare. Like,
This is a bomb rare. Like, I can see in certain boards this will backfire, but you really have to be losing really, really hard for this card to be bad, I think.
I mean, you get 2 additional creatures, right? So even if they have 2 more creatures than you, you now have an even board plus a 4/5 flyer.
Yeah.
And white's creatures
Like,
are traditionally
I mean,
like the smallest, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
green's creatures are the biggest. You're white, like you probably have a bunch of little knights and tappers and stuff, and they played a few giant monsters, and suddenly everything's a 3/3, and you probably have more creatures than them. That card is just ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Next card here, Hushbringer. This is Lady Lavinius's reveal. 2 mana, rare fairy, flying, lifelink. Creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger.
Seems like more of a constructed card. I mean, a 2 mana, one power flyer with lifelink is certainly playable, but so I'll go with like a C.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with C as well. It is a symmetrical effect, so it doesn't seem like. I mean, very rarely are you. I mean, honestly, if your deck doesn't have like your own enter the battlefield and dying triggers, your deck's probably not gonna be that good. I assume, just because that's like a lot of the power of cards in general. So I don't know. I think this is C. Nothing special. It's just for constructed sideboards, basically. Okay, next card here, Knight of the Keep, 3 mana, 3/2. Human Knight at common with flavor text.
D. I mean, it's not an F because it's a knight, and there's decks that are going to play this because they want knights. Obviously, a 3 mana 3/2 with no abilities and no text is unplayable, but in this format, being a knight is an ability, so D.
Yep, like a 23rd card. Knight of the Keep, that's a D for me as well. All right, here's a rare, hard to cast one. Linden, the Steadfast Queen. Triple white mana cost. Legendary creature, human noble at rare. She has vigilance, and whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain 1 life.
I don't actually think this card is very good. Like, if you were mono white, it would be excellent. But a 3 mana 3/3, like Centaur Courser, is just a moderate playable in this day and age. And since a lot of times this is in your hand, you're not going to be able to cast it on turn 3, and then you're just going to pass a turn potentially and miss your 3-drop. I actually think this card is pretty bad. Now, obviously, it's going to range based on how many planes you have in your deck a lot.
Yep.
But in an average 2-color deck, I'm going to go D, not even C, because it's a 3-drop that you can't cast on turn 3.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. And then whenever you can cast it, it's not that exciting. Like, yeah, sure she has vigilance, but like I don't know, at that point she's likely to get blanked, and then gaining 1 life when your white creature's attack is like pretty irrelevant. I'm gonna go with the D as well, and I would be surprised if this even makes constructed play unless like Devotion comes back or something.
Right, so that's why I said in an average 2-color deck, Doom139 in my chat points out that you're supposed to be able to play one monocolor in this format. Now, in a mono-white deck, this card is like a B. It's not broken, but it's a good 3-drop, right? So, like,
Sure.
That's why, like, you know, it's tricky. Like Deathsie said, you know, this isn't even a large payoff for when you actually spike the 3 planes. Like, this card is nowhere near as good as Benelish Marshall. You know, white, 3/3, all your other creatures get +1/+1. But if you were mono-white, this is still quite a good 3-drop. And if you have 11 planes or 12 planes, it's a pretty good card. So, you know, in an average 2-color deck with 9 planes and 8 mountains, I'm going to give it a D. But if you have 11 planes, it might be like a C. If you have 15 or 17 planes, now it's a B. So it could range from a D to a B, depending on how many planes you have in your deck.
Yeah, and it's also a human noble, which seems like that's not really a type that you want to be. Like knight, there seems to be a lot of synergy for knights, and she's not a knight. So a lot of times when I look at limited formats and look at cards, I think about how upset I would be if my opponent plays this against me, and if someone drops this on turn 3 against me, I probably don't care that much.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to this next card here. Okay, Lonesome Unicorn. This is an adventure card. 5 mana, 3/3 unicorn at common with vigilance. Now it has an adventure. What does that say? Rider in Heed. Sorcery speed. Create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance.
So, I mean, this is a tough card to evaluate. I assume you're going to want knights. So you get a 2/2 and a 3/3 vigilance, but you got to pay a lot of mana for that. I'm going to go with a C.
I think I'm gonna go C as well. Both sides are not that efficient, and yes, it's a value card, but like the thing is that I don't know. It's I mean it costs a lot. It costs a lot. It is value, but it costs. Okay, Mysterious Pathlighter, 3 mana, 2/2 fairy at uncommon, flying. Each creature you control that has an adventure enters a battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
I mean, again, it's of course pretty dependent on the rest of your deck, but I'm going to go with a C. Not that many cards have adventure. 3 mana, 2/2 flyers, generally not playable on its own these days. But as soon as this pumps a single creature, now it was well worth it. So sounds like a C to me. I don't know.
Yeah, like either a C or like a low B or something, and it could even go up to be like one of the best cards in your deck if you have a lot. But the adventure cards are kind of awkward as well because generally, if you want to get use out of them, you want to use the other side first, and we're not quite sure like how easy it is to use the other side of it if you want to like forsake tempo and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I'm fine with the C, like either C or B.
Yeah, oh, this is definitely a B in some decks. I mean, if you have 8 adventure
Yeah,
creatures, it's an easy
that's
B.
true.
But it's just hard to evaluate on its own.
Yep. Okay. Next card here. Outflank. 1 mana instant common. Outflank deals damage to target attacking or blocking creature equal to the number of creatures you control.
Go with a D. I mean, it could deal damage, it could be removal, but it's very situational.
Yeah, like we would always just take a righteous blow over this, right? Just a guaranteed kill something on turn 2 on the draw kind of thing.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
I mean,
I think I'm down with it.
I'm assuming white's
Huh.
supposed to go wide in this format, and so this might be like okay, but that's why I'm going a D. I think sometimes you'll want to put this card in your deck, but a lot of times you won't.
Yeah, like the thing is that the cheap cards that kind of scale with the game don't really matter that much. I feel I don't know. Like maybe you can get a tempo swing later on, but it's just I don't know. Like a lot of things can go wrong. It just doesn't seem great. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with the D as well for outflank.
Yeah, Righteous Blow is at its
Prize,
best on like turn 2 or 3 when you actually remove their 2 or 3 drop for 1 mana. This card only works like later in the game, basically.
yeah,
And then it's likely not going to kill a big creature, and small creatures aren't worth a lot later in the game.
exactly. Prize Griffin, 5 mana, 3/4 flying. So it's just like that Griffin from War of the Spark. It's just a normal 5 mana, 3/4 flyer, a common.
I'm going to go with a D. Usually you don't want to put these in your deck, but if you have to, it's not the worst.
Yeah. I think I'm happy to see. Like personally, I think that this is like an average stat line, but maybe I play 5 mana 3/4s more than most.
I mean, it just doesn't synergize with anything. Your 5 drop
That's true.
slot, you don't want that many 5 drops in your deck. There's probably going to be a few better cards than this.
That's true. It's just a dumb flyer.
Like, the thing is, like, if the same power level, even adjusting for casting cost, was a 2 drop, it might be fine, because, like, you know, you want, like, 6 2 drops if you can get them if you're aggro, but you never really want 6 5 drops. So this is generally
true.
competing for a slot that you only want 2 to 3 cards in that slot. So I think that this is, like, a card that you're going to be happier cutting than playing.
Yep. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely convinced by that. That's I'm gonna change mine to a D then. All right, next card here, Rally for the Throne. 3 mana instant at uncommon. Create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens. It also has adamant. At least 3 white mana was spent to cast it. Gain 1 life for each creature you control.
Doesn't look great to me. Between, like, a C
Like
and
a
a
life?
D.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with the C, like a low C. Usually the life gain is annoying, but it's not game deciding. So
Yeah. But, like, I do think
yeah,
white is trying to
just
go wide. I do think white is likely trying to go wide in this format. So, like, that's why I'm, like, kind of between a C, like a C minus. Like, you're probably not going to cut this from your white decks that often, but it can't be, like, great or anything.
Yeah, it can't be great. Like maybe you'll pick it on the wheel and it's maybe making the cut. All right. Realm Cloaked Giant. 7 mana. Mythic Rare Giant. 7/7 with Vigilance. It also has an adventure. 5 mana sorcery. Cast off. And it destroys all non-giant creatures.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an S.
Hmm.
Whenever a Wrath is just purely even, then it's not broken in creature decks. But this is a Wrath, and then you also net a 7/7 after that. So to me, this is like, I mean, white is probably a go wide aggro deck that doesn't super want Wraths.
Hmm.
So I don't think this is likely to be like, the best card in the format. And it might be like an A and not an S. But a Wrath that gives you a 7/7 after it is a pretty game winning, has the potential to win a lot of games. So I think it's an S.
Yeah, I also think it's an S as well. Like a lot of times when people planar cleansing or something, you're like, okay, well it's fine because well I'm just gonna refill the board kind of thing, and I have a chance to just take back the game. But if there's a 7/7 vigilance looming on the horizon, I think that's a lot harder to do. And yeah, I think this card's pretty busted, and you'll be pretty unhappy if your opponent plays it against you. So.
Yeah, and I know you're making the important point, Shimmer more, but yeah, it's draw a 7/7 is a lot better than draw a random card. A random card once
Yep.
you already have 5 is a land 40 to 42% of the time, which does nothing. So yeah, I mean A plus S minus, but definitely a very first pickable card, even for white
Yeah,
creature
like
decks that
you see
wouldn't
the
want to
card, you
sweeper.
just slam it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, Windmill Slam for a control style deck, but let's pretend you're a white aggro deck that normally wouldn't want a
Mhm.
sweeper. That's still a first pickable card for a white aggro deck.
Yeah, I mean, you just play on 7 if you're ahead, right? Like if you're ahead, you don't have to cast it.
I'm gonna go with a D. I
Oh
don't
wait,
think.
hold on. Give me 1 second here. Let me go ahead and read this real quick. Righteousness, 1 mana, instant speed, uncommon. Target blocking creature gains +7/+7 until end of turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a D. I don't think white is a defensive color in this format in particular. This only works when you're blocking.
I I mean, I love the card though, but I'm also gonna go with the D. It's hard to use, but it's really sweet though. Okay, Shepherd of the Flock. This is Eric Floric Floric's card. 2 mana, uncommon human peasant. 3/1 with no ability. It does have an adventure though. 1 mana instant, usher to safety. Return target permanent you control to its owner's hand.
I'll go with a C. A 2 mana 3/1's not generally that good. The other ability's cool, but if you're, what are you gonna do? Not play this on turn 2? Like,
That's true.
so I mean, I'll go with a C.
I think this card's cool if you have 2 of them because you can just loop them. Like you can just bounce the other one, and then after you use the adventure card, it goes to exile. Then you can cast that other one, and then the other one's in your hand, and then you bounce it again. So for 3 mana, you just have like a I don't know, like a icy manipulator effect kind of thing, or like a maze Vith. But yeah, I believe that this is also going to be a C for me. But it like the ceiling on this card is pretty high, I think, especially if you have a lot of good stuff to do with that. Okay, next card here, Shining Armor, 2 mana, artifact equipment. At common, flash. When Shining Armor enters the battlefield, attach it to target knight you control. Equipped creature gets +0 and +2 and has vigilance. And the normal equip cost, if you don't have a knight, is 3 mana. So you move it around for 3 mana.
I'm gonna go with another C.
Yeah.
I mean, Flash means this has the potential to have your creature eat theirs, but that still has to line up where the 2 toughness saves a creature that would have traded otherwise. You're not enhancing the power. Seems like a playable, probably not cutting it. Doesn't seem like anything special. I don't really know.
Yeah, like even though it kind of has that ancestral blade effect where you can move it around and it sticks around and you can like kind of reuse it. I think that +0, +2 is probably not going to be that exciting, especially on small creatures and stuff like that. So I think I'm even happy to give it a D.
Yeah, you might be right. Like, I mean, it does seem like there's synergies with having an artifact in play, but yeah, this could be a D. I mean, this could be like a D plus C minus. Like, it makes your deck if you have
Yep.
some want an artifact in play synergies doesn't otherwise. If you have a lot of knights, maybe. I could see a D.
Yeah, and I feel like if you don't have knights, it's just unplayable.
Yeah, I could see more like a D than a C. Like more like a D plus that like has the chance to get to a C because it's like a high variance card.
Yep.
But I could see this being more of a D than a C.
Yep. Okay, let's move on here. Silver Flame Ritual. 4 mana, sorcery, common. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Adamant for 3. If 3 white mana was spent to cast a spell, creatures you control also gain vigilance until end of turn.
I'm gonna go with another D. It does seem like White's trying to go wide, but +1/+1, like on a couple of creatures. Like let's say you have 3 creatures out, you're basically getting a 3/3 haste. Well. Yeah, and like the adamant part isn't even that strong. I would have liked to probably see the adamant be lifelink on this card instead of vigilance.
Yeah, or like an extra +1/+1 or something I don't know. It just doesn't scale very well. Like vigilance is just not that special later on in the game, oftentimes.
So you agree with a D then, or?
Yeah, that's a very clear D for me. I'm pretty unhappy to put that in my deck. Silver Flame Squire, 2 mana, 2/1, human soldier at common with flavor text. It has an ability, instant speed on alert for 3 mana. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and you untap it.
This looks like a C. It's a bad 2-drop, but it's better to put something out on turn 2 than not at all. It's not a great trick, but if you use it as a trick and then get a 2/1, that's okay. I don't think you're often going to cut this card, but I don't think it's very good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a C as well for me. Just nothing special. I mean, the existence of this card makes people play around stuff. Like maybe you'll have different attacks because you're playing around Silver Flame Squire and tapping something. But it's not that exciting. I don't think the cap on this is very high, the ceiling on it.
Can I just say again, I love the design of Adventure for Limited. You just have all these cards that give you choices, and they're not that powerful on either half because you have access to both halves. These are the kind of cards that mitigate Flood and Screw and make Magic good, where people don't just get run over because you're not playing a 2-mana 3/3, you're playing a 2-mana 2/1. And they give you choices. I love Adventure as a mechanic for Limited. Not because it's so powerful, but just for the way it's going to impact gameplay. Great job, play design. Great job, R&D. I love Adventure. I love mechanics like that for Limited.
I 100% agree. I think that just having choices, being able to play your cards in different modes, as you mentioned before, like cycling cards and like land cycling cards, I think that's fantastic. That should just... I don't get why that's just not evergreen, as you said, because mana is like one of the worst parts of Magic. And I mean, like mana is something that has to stay, but mana is like the biggest issue in my opinion. Like the thing that causes the most non-games. So just having things that mitigate that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, this is our first uncommon non-rare, I believe. Sir Aelin, the Lion's Claw, 5 mana legendary creature, human knight at uncommon. It is a 4/4. It has first strike, and whenever it attacks, other creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn.
Probably go with a B. It might be an A. I mean,
Yeah,
this card is clearly
well.
good. It's a knight. I mean, white looks like it's trying to go wide and attack. Yeah, I mean, B+, A-, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna happily give it an A. I mean, it's not only a knight, it's a 5 mana 4/4 with first strike, and it threatens attacks and it blocks well. I think that this is just I don't know. Well, this is the best uncommon I've seen yet in white. Oh, Ben, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Whoops. Okay, there you go. There. We're back, guys. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give this an A. I don't think there's too much to talk about on this card. It's just like a well-statted thing. It's a legendary creature, and it does stuff. Like, I like this design for cards. The kind of Dominaria high power level cards at uncommon.
Yeah, it's a cool card. It's definitely a first pickable uncommon. No question.
Yep. Okay, next card here is Trapped in the Tower. 2 mana, enchantment aura at common. Enchant creature without flying. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated.
Looks pretty good to me. Good solid removal. I'll go with a B.
Go to B. Okay. And so one caveat about this card is that you cannot enchant creatures without you cannot enchant flying creatures. Does that bump the rating down for you a little bit, or?
Not really. Flying creatures, if you're white, you're probably trying to attack. Flying creatures are better at attacking than blocking generally. I mean, obviously it bumps it down, like it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
drawback. But
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. Seems like more of a B than a C to me. Like this is a card that I'm probably going to be taking early. That I'm going to be first picking. Like if there's not a good uncommon in the pack. Like I don't even know if we've seen them all yet, but this is likely the best white common.
Yep. Okay. I mean, we'll see how many good flyers there are and just like what combat looks like. At first impression, I probably would have given it like a C, just because it doesn't, pacify everything. But I can see it easily being a B. It's definitely a card that just always makes your deck right. Maybe you'll side it out in some matches, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I want to reiterate card values really depend on the format, and we're doing this in a vacuum. I literally haven't even seen the cards. Like, I didn't even read all the previews yet or anything. So, like,
Yep.
take everything we're saying with a grain of salt, right? Like, you can take what we're saying into the pre release, but if you feel like you learned something about the format during the pre release, during week one, just drop what we're saying. Don't be like, oh, those are the pros and they said this. Just
Exactly.
drop what we're saying immediately. Like we're going to be changing our position on all of these cards as we learn the format, and we'll be updating you with our draft picks and our strategy and everything. So like this is just in a vacuum. How would this card be like across all formats with like our knowledge of Throne? But this is not like an accurate assessment based on playing the format and learning and evaluating the cards.
Yep. So another thing that I want to add to that is that for me, the best formats are the ones where I'm the most wrong, right? Like for me, I think that that Magic will be more boring, like the more correct we are, I suppose. Where if every single set that comes out, we make like extremely accurate predictions, I think that that's not the that's not the world that I want to live in either. But you do get to kind of see the way that we think about cards and how I don't know and how to evaluate cards even if you've never seen them before. Okay. Next card here, True Love's Kiss. Wow. Okay, 4 mana, instant speed at common. Exile target artifact or enchantment, and you get to draw a card.
I'm gonna go with a C.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with a C, like a low C kind of thing. I think that it's very important that it has draw a card in it. I think that that's one of the worst things about like main boarding enchantment removal or artifact removal is that a lot of times you just can't cycle it, even if it hits. It's not even that good.
So a lot of
So
people in my
cycling is a big deal.
a lot of people in my chat are typing D's and even a few F's. So let me yeah, I actually Deathsie just explained what I would say. Draw a card is a big deal. That's a lot of upside because like so there's food tokens, right? And there's plenty of enchantments and artifacts. We've already seen plenty of enchantments and artifacts. Anytime you kill an enchantment or artifact, not a food token, but a real one with this card, you went up a card. That's a pretty big deal. But the other times, you're going to be able to cycle this on your own food token, on their food token, whatever, right? And then, so like, this card is probably main deckable in this format. And most of the time, it's going to be unexciting. But when you kill a good artifact or enchantment and draw a card, that's an exciting play that actually like produces a lot of value. So that's why I think this is a C, and I think this card will likely be main deckable.
Yep, definitely. Like the it's super weird as well because I feel like a lot of the same people who think that this card's unplayable are the same ones who argue that sometimes they're plummet formats or like you main board disenchants and stuff like that. Like those cards are never gonna be that good because even when you hit, it's not that good. Like this card when it hits, it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
So
plummet draw a card is a lot different than plummet.
yeah, exactly. All right, True Love's Kiss, and I love the flavor of that as well. Next card here, Venerable Knight, 1 mana, 2/1 human knight at uncommon. When it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target knight you control.
Another C.
What do you?
1 mana, 2
Yeah,
1.
like yeah, 1 mana, 2/1 that only makes aggressive decks. yeah, something like C. It's nothing special. I
I mean,
think.
you're never
It's
cutting
just
it. This is a fifth pick. This is, this isn't like a ninth pick that doesn't make your best decks, nor a first pick. This is just like a fourth through sixth pick. It's just going to always make your white decks, but it's nothing special. I think that's a C on your rating
how
criteria.
often? Yeah. How often do you play like 1 mana 2/1s in decks that aren't that aggressive?
It depends if you got better early cards. Like in a non aggro deck, you'd always rather have like creatures with activated abilities that are relevant in the late game or like cheap removal. But at the same time, you don't want to get run over. So
Yep.
like it really just depends on what your options are.
Yeah, and depending on how many 3/2s are in this format, like 3 mana 3/2s, then maybe this goes up in value a little bit more as well. Like if you can trade a 3 drop, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the C. Nothing too exciting there. Okay, Worthy Knight, 2 mana, Human Knight at rare, 2/2. Whenever you cast a Knight spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token.
I mean, it really depends, of course, how many knights there are, but I mean, this seems
Yeah, and how
pretty
many knights you
good.
have.
It seems like there's a lot of knights, and it's a 2 mana 2/2 with upside. Probably another C, maybe a B, like more of a C plus.
Yeah, like
B
a C or a
minus.
B. I think that if it's early on in a draft, it's probably fine to speculate it. I think I would even bump it up to B. I think it's, yeah. I mean, but again, results are going to vary.
Yeah, more of a B minus than a
Yep,
solid good B, but like
exactly.
yeah, kind of borderline CB.
Okay. One thing I will say that a lot of these cards so far, they kind of feel like core set cards to me. It's just like cards that have a very one-dimensional thing that they do, and then that's it. I don't know if that's going to be true for all the cards, but
Well, at this point, I don't even know what core set means because M20 is just so fantastic that I feel
that's
like
true.
I feel like they're basically just not really making core set. They're just making four good sets to the best of their ability now. So
Yeah. Okay, Youthful Knight, 2 mana, 2/1, Human Knight at common with first strike.
yeah, another C to me. I mean, this seems like more likely just like a solid C that's easy to evaluate. This is a 2 drop that you're always going to play, I think. But if you first pick this card, you're not happy at all. Like this is just this is the definition of a fifth pick or a fourth pick. That now when I say that, bear in mind sometimes you're just going to get it past a pack that doesn't have pacifism or whatever in it, trapped in the tower, and you're going to take this first, second, third pick once you're already white. But like this is a card that like ideally you're taking fifth pick when you're white. You're gonna get it once in a while when you're eighth. You're gonna have to take it second. Once in a while you're gonna get an eighth pick. Sometimes you're gonna have to take it second pick because there's the 2 better white commons, 3 better white commons aren't in the pack. But to me, this screams like always make your white deck. You're not happy if you're taking it with the first couple picks out of a pack.
I will say that in recent times, though, we haven't had a 2 mana 2 attack first striker at common. Like it's all been like Pouncing Lings and Fresh Face Recruit, where if they're attacking, they have first strike. So this is something that we kind of haven't seen in a while. I think that I think it could even be a high C. Like this is a pretty exciting 2 drop kind of like, I mean, it blanks their 2 drops and stuff like that. Good at attacking, good at blocking.
Yeah, we could reevaluate this after we see red and black and find out how
Yep.
good those colors are at punishing 1 toughness in this format, right?
Yep.
Like
that's
if there's
true.
a common pinger, or if there's like a card like Memphitic Vapors that like is efficient and you can main deck that blows out 1 toughness creatures, then a card like this gets a lot worse. And if there's nothing like that and you just can't punish a 1 toughness creature, then a card like this gets substantially better.
Yep. I think I'm happy with a C for now. It's definitely at least a C. All right. Okay, so that's all of the white cards there. We're down with 1 color. Now, Ben, are you cool with reading the cards, and then we'll kind of go opposite here?
Yeah, but I was just thinking, I don't want to cut our analysis as short. Like, I love discussing each card with you, and I feel like I'm learning too. I don't know what your schedule is like. What do you think about doing this like in 2 parts? If we do like half tonight
Okay.
and half Monday or something.
Okay. Monday I'm actually traveling to LA. Do you have time on tomorrow or Sunday? Is
Yeah,
that possible for you at night?
yeah, I should be able to do it tomorrow or Sunday. I have some plans. I'll look into the schedule and we can just announce it.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I would rather not rush through cards. Like, I think the pace
Yeah,
we
that's
kept,
true.
I think the pace we just did, like, we didn't get started right at 9 because we were setting up the stream, so we just took about an hour for 1 color. That feels totally appropriate and totally fun to me. And
That's
when
true.
you throw in artifacts and stuff, it's going to be about 6 hours. I would love to do like 2 more colors tonight, and then do like another 3, the last 2 colors in artifacts and lands or whatever, like tomorrow or Sunday, and just do this in 2 parts, if that's.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I mean, I was thinking the same thing that like both of us, obviously, we talk a lot, you know what I mean? Our channels basically never have radio silence or anything. We're just always just like blabbering on, and we can probably like talk in our sleep about magic. So yeah.
Probably. I'm gonna have to ask Rachel. She probably has heard me talking in my sleep about magic.
Okay. Fantastic. I mean, I'm very happy with that as well. Like one of the worst and best things about Magic sets is that there's so many cards. But I mean, that's more content, right? Like that's the reason why we do this. It's just fun stuff, and it's I don't know. It's like every time a set comes out, it's basically Christmas. I just love it.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I was thinking like originally, okay, we'll just try and go quick. But then I was like, who wants to go quick? I don't want to go quick.
Yeah.
I think the pace we just did was really good. We talked about each card a little bit. I think that was perfect. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're on the same page. We'll do like 2 more colors tonight, and then we'll do this. We'll do this again. We'll film the second half of it at some other point, which will soon,
All right.
which we'll
Perfect.
announce. Cool. All right, so animating fairy. You've got a 3 mana adventure, bring to life, sorcery adventure. Target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact creature. Put 4+1/+1 counters on it. And then the creature half is a 2/2 flyer.
Add uncommon here. Wow, animating fairy. Okay, so 3 mana for 2/2 is already just like fine. It's that's at the normal stat line, I believe. Like these days for flyer, like 3 mana 2/2. I mean, 3 mana 2/2 is just what a flyer costs, right? I think. And then bring to life. If you have like an artifact or something lying around, a food token or something, it becomes a straight up 4/4 for 3 mana. So I don't know, like this card seems great to me. I'm not sure if it's quite an A. I'm definitely gonna say it's at least a B. I think this card's very, very obnoxious, and you even get a 3 mana 2/2 flyer later on. I think this card's fantastic on turn 3, on either side, and I don't know, it just does everything you want. I think.
I agree with you. I think this is a B. I think in most formats it would be a C. It would be because a 3 mana 2/2 flyer is borderline. I wouldn't call a 3 mana 2/2 flyer good in this day and age. I would call a 3 mana 2/2 flyer like playable. But this is the food token format, so you're gonna have an artifact a lot of the time, and then you get a 4/4 and a 2/2 flyer, which is just great. So I'm gonna go B. I agree with you. I think this is just a solid B. Just definitely a first pickable card, but not a windmill slam or anything like that. Hey, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but I've got a raid from Corey Baumeister. Thank you, Corey, for the raid.
Hey, welcome.
Very much appreciated, Corey. Welcome to our preview stream. We're doing white, blue, and black tonight, and then we're going to do part 2 where we cover red, green, and the rest of the cards, like tomorrow or the next day. So for everybody who's joining, if you want to stick around, we're just going through very briefly each card and giving some ratings on how we think they are. The rating criteria is on the screen.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Thanks for sharing your community with us. Also, this card is gonna I mean, like, I think this card even gets better if like the more ways that you can make a food token like before turn 3. Because if you, I don't know, if you curve into make your food token a 4/4, I think that's very obnoxious.
Oh, it's awesome because that's a 4/4 haste, right? Because the token was already in play. So even though it wasn't a creature, if you made a food token on turn 2 and then you animate it with Bring to Life on turn 3, you're attacking for 4 on the 3rd turn. That's a 4/4 haste. So I think it's a B, but there will be decks that this would be like an A in for sure.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, well, and again, I love the design of the card. Fantastic. All right, next card here. Okay.
Yeah, I don't say this lightly. I love the design of the card too and the set. I've never been more excited about Magic in my entire life. Between the London Mulligan, which is amazing for limited, and all of these sets being so intricate with great mechanics, I think Magic has seriously never been better. All right, so Brazen Borrower, 1 mana, 1 colorless, blue. It is in another adventure card. Petty Theft is the adventure, a colorless and a blue. Return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. And then the creature half is Flash, flying. Brazen Borrower can block only creatures with flying.
At Mythic Rare as well. This card is so interesting in design because I think this card is very, very good, and I love the design of this card. I am very surprised that this card is mythic rare though. Like, I think that this would be like a very, very, or like a solid rare or a very good uncommon, like a busted uncommon. Um, I guess like the fact that you can just flash it in from exile after bouncing one of their things, and it's a 3/1 flyer that just beats them down as well is very, very good. I mean, I don't know if I want to go ahead and give this an S. Like, this is a card that's definitely always going to make your deck, and you're happy to pick it first, but it feels more like a high A to me.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I think giving this an S would be a mistake. I think, I mean, look, it's your rating scale, so correct me if I'm wrong. But the reason there's A through F, like a normal, U.S. grading scale, and then there's also this other category S, would be because you're gonna have maybe like a distribution of A's through F's, but then S is like this. It's broken. It doesn't fit our grades, right? Like this is like it stands by itself. In my opinion, that Archon and that thing that makes knights and gives all your creatures +1/+1, those are S's. Those are windmill slams. Those are cards, depending on the format, that could be contenders for best card in the format. Brazen Borrower is very efficient. 2-mana instant bounce spell, and you get a 3/1 flyer after that. So to me, I wouldn't even necessarily say this is a high A. I would just call this card an A. This is just a very solid A. I mean, A is a card you're happy to first pick, right? Like Little Chandra, like Uncommon Chandra from M20 is an A, right?
It's like a borderline A or S, yeah. It's like a card is.
I mean, I don't think this card is better than Uncommon Chandra from M20 necessarily. I think this card is around there. So to me, and probably a little worse. So to me, this is an A. Not an A minus, not a borderline S, but I see this card as an A.
Yep, and about the rating system, I have tweaked it a lot over the last year. But these days, basically what I'm trying to do is just to have the S tier as just, it doesn't fit the normal, 0 star to 5-star, the F to A.
Oh, also, I completely agree. This is the least mythic I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Both halves of these are basically commons. Now, when you put both those commons together at an efficient rate on one card, you get a very good card. But to me, this is a very strange mythic. I definitely agree with that.
Is that like a money grab or something? Is that in constructive formats, standard especially, and I don't know if this makes modern. I don't play modern or anything, but is that just because decks want 4 of these that it's like a mythic? I mean, Wizards has never really done that before. I don't think just make cards randomly mythic just because people are gonna play it.
Yeah, I'm not saying I like that this is a mythic or I don't like that this is a mythic. I kind of try and leave economics and that kind of stuff to the experts. I'm here to analyze Magic cards. That's what I'm an expert in. Not say what a mythic should look like or whatever. But to me, this is just a really weird mythic. It feels like 2 cards that have been common, not even exciting commons. You know what I mean? These aren't even flashy, fancy commons. These are just, basic commons, right? These are, bounce spell for 2 mana, nothing else. 3 mana, 3/1 flyer with this drawback. These are just basic commons.
Yeah. It's the only game-breaking thing about this is that you're flashing in the creature from exile. And that's kind of cool, I guess. But, again, mythic? Not really. Okay. Next card here. Oh, I haven't seen this either.
In Charm Sleep, so this is the dehydration effect of the format. Blue usually gets one of those at common. It's a colorless blue enchant creature. When Charm Sleep enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step.
We see this effect time and time again. It's either 4 mana with 1 blue or 3 mana at double blue, like Claustrophobia.
Yeah, this is just exactly Claustrophobia, right?
Yeah, this is exactly Claustrophobia, reskinned. I think this is slightly above average, like a low B, high C, something like that.
I agree.
You'll pick it in the middle of a pack.
Yeah, I agree. A B. I wouldn't call this a C. Because, there is even synergies with having an enchantment in play. If you're white-blue and you put this on their creature, this sits in play for the rest of the game and your fox has flying or whatever.
And happily ever after, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you said you're going to pull that off week 1. We're going to be watching. Don't think we're going to forget. We're going to be watching you week 1, and we're going to see if you pull off happily ever after. But yeah, I agree.
I'm
like
gonna do it.
low B, I wouldn't call this like this isn't pushing A, like this is pushing C, but probably a low B, not like a high C, but just like a low B would be where I would put this.
I actually want to pick your brain a little bit here. So personally, I think that over the course of my Magic career, I've valued removal a lot differently in limited. Like before, it used to be always like, oh well, removal just removes everything. Like you want to have as much removal as possible. Whereas like these days, it's like, well, removal just goes like 1 for 1 most of the time, right? And then it's like, there's other cards that go more than 1 for 1. How much do you like? I guess what I'm asking is, do you think like cards like this look better than they actually are?
I mean, that's a really good topic. I mean, we could probably talk for 10 hours about this, So a lot of things matter in Magic, and a lot of things are competing on like different axes, and they produce value. So like sometimes a removal spell just single-handedly wins a game, basically, because you would have just lost to this bomber if you didn't kill it, and nothing else you could have drawn and nothing else you did would have mattered, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't happen most of the time. So, I mean, you have to somehow value in what happens most of the time and how much value is created then with what happens in these, like, extreme circumstances and what happens then. The most common thing is just trading resources, interacting with the board. That happens every game of Magic, right? So if on average you kill a 3-mana card with this, like if they play their 3-drop and then on average you Charm Sleep it, you just broke even, right? So that didn't produce any value. That didn't help you win, that didn't hurt you, you just broke even. This card can kill any size creature, so it has the ability to trade up in mana. But with sorcery speed removal, you have to decide, am I going to kill what they have in play now, or am I going to not use my mana this turn? And more often than not, that means the right play is going to be to kill what they have in play now. If this card had Flash, that would be a huge upgrade. Like, Flash is a much bigger upgrade on a removal spell, or Instant is a much bigger upgrade on a removal spell than it is on a creature, because with creatures, you just want to put them in play anyway. So it being an instant sometimes gets the opponent, sometimes changes combat, but doesn't matter a ton. With removal, if it's an instant, you can take the hit for 2 from their 2 or 3 drop, see if they play a better creature you want to kill, and then kill the better creature, right?
Yeah,
Anyways.
Exactly.
So to address this really complex question as best as I can, so that even if we're only doing 3 colors tonight, we're not here till 6 a.m., removal that is efficient is a really early pick in limited. Removal that is not efficient is something that's generally going to make your deck, but beyond exciting. At 3 mana, I find this card to be like pretty efficient, but not over the top exciting. So generally, I would give something like Claustrophobia a B in most formats.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we will continue this topic on the Benzie podcast in 2021.
Hey, you asked. Don't blame me for that rant. You asked the question.
No, I mean, I would love to have like a full-blown discussion about like the value of removal in limited, because the thing is that I think that obviously we know that removal is good, but exactly how good is it is a very important concept as well, I think.
All right. Corridor Monitor. A blue and 1/4 artifact creature construct, whatever construct means. When Corridor Monitor enters the battlefield, untap target artifact or creature you control.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. Enters the battlefield, untap target artifact or creature you control. I think that I would like to take a rain check on this one. I mean, a 2-mana 1/4, if you're a very controlling deck, I guess it blocks a lot of stuff. But at that point, it's essentially just like a Yoke Docs kind of thing. Maybe, I mean, I guess they can't attack into their 2/1s, but I mean, I think that you need to get the effect off of it, and you need to have like good use out of that effect. Otherwise, it's just not going to be a card that's making your deck most of the time, even though it looks cool as heck.
I think you're smart to use the rain check on this one. Well played, Deathsie.
Thanks.
Like, this is a card that can range from an F to like an A. I mean, if you're defensive blue decks with artifact synergies, like this card could just be like awesome for you and you want to first pick it. Or if you're an aggressive blue deck with no artifact synergies, this card is complete and total trash. Like this is a card
Yeah,
that's
and
just too hard to evaluate in a
I
vacuum.
don't think we've seen anything so far that combos with this particularly well. So let's just go ahead and
Not only do you
wait
play
on
well
that
in game, you play well with your rain checks. Like that's a perfect card to use a rain check on.
one.
All right, didn't
Okay.
say please. We've got the common counter spell of the format. It's one blue blue. Counter target spell. Its controller puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard.
Okay, so this is just a Thought Collapse reskinned, I suppose. We'll see how good the milling aspect of it is, but in my opinion, a good format has games that like sometimes go to mill. That as Ben said, aren't too aggressive and stuff like that. That's the kind of formats I prefer. So if this is one of those type of formats, which it might not be, if there's like a bunch of aggressive knights and stuff, but like the counter aspect of it is going to be interesting if there's synergies with it and if there's a real ways to mill out people. But like a counter spell, I mean, counter spell sweet. We'll see if this format's like not too blazing fast. Usually these cards are pretty bad if you're on the draw kind of thing against those aggressive decks, just because you just have to counter anything on turn 3. But I think I'm just gonna give this a C. I think it's just nothing special, just very normal.
I'd probably go a little lower outside of Mildex. I mean, yeah, like you said, this is another card that's very format dependent. And if you're a mill deck, you're going to be taking this quite aggressively. But unless there's a lot of instant removal in where you're going to be leaving your mana up on their turn, and then you have the option to counter or still do something, I don't think this is a card you're probably going to want to put into most of your decks in most formats. So I'm going to go with a D. But definitely a high variance D that could be more of a C, certainly, or even better depending on the format in your deck. But in the dark, I'm going to go with a D.
Yep. Okay. Next card here.
Emery.
There's a lot of text in this.
Yeah, I don't. Emery, Lurker of the Lock. It's a 2 colorless and a blue to cast. It's a 1/2 legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. This spell costs 1 colorless less to cast for each artifact you control. When Emery enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. Choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn.
Okay, well, it looks like there is like a little bit more artifact support. I mean, we haven't really seen much stuff. It seems like a lot of the artifacts in this format are going to be like food tokens, and again, I don't know what synergies are with food tokens, but those things don't go to the graveyard since they're tokens. They just like vanish from existence, and you cannot recur it. So I have no idea how this card's gonna play out. This card seems not very playable to me at first glance. It's probably something like a D. Like it's a card that can vary. If you have a lot of synergies with this, it probably can go up to B, maybe even be one of the best cards in your deck. But I think that for most of the time, you're not going to pick this card unless unless it's already going to be good in your deck. So I'm not going to spend a high pick on this. This is going to be a D for me.
I agree with you. I would give this a D. Super high variance. I mean, this may be a first pick for some deck you draft, but in the dark, I'm going to give this a D. I agree.
Okay, interesting card though. Next card here.
That card is definitely a sweet constructed card, because if you're a blue artifact like constructed deck in some formats, you're paying 1 mana for that card.
Sure.
But yeah, we're talking about limited. We leave constructed to Corey B, who just rated us, and me and Deathsie do limited, so that's what our ratings are for. All right, Fae of Wishes, a colorless and a blue, 1/4. It has an adventure. I can't make out the name. I think it's Granted. 3 colorless and a blue, sorcery. You may choose a non-creature card you own from outside the game, and in limited that means your sideboard, or I guess exile. Reveal it and put it into your hand, and then the creature itself, Fae of Wishes, flying, a colorless and a blue, discard 2 cards. Return Fae of Wishes to its owner's hand.
Man, this card is so cool just because it does a lot of like literally game-breaking things, like taking things from your sideboard and like like returning this card back and getting more stuff. But I think it's a high variance card. 2 mana, 1/4 flyer is like, it is a pretty good brick wall, but it's not a card that is like, I don't know, that's not that good in limited. It's not going to win you games. That's not that exciting or anything. 2 mana to discard 2 cards and return it to your hand to make another wish. Again, that's going to depend on just how good your stuff in the sideboard is. I think this card is very, very cool. But also at the same time, I mean, it's value as well for a very high mana cost. But I don't know. Like for me, I think this is like a C for
So
me.
first, let me say a couple of people in my chat are saying that outside of the game doesn't include exile. It definitely did at one point. I think is that a change? Because I don't play like a lot of old formats. I play mostly limited and then some, and a decent amount of standard, so it doesn't come up that often.
I don't think it counts exile because exile is in the game, I
Yeah,
believe.
people are saying that is a rules change. Like it changed a long time ago, but originally it did count exile, but now it doesn't or something. And it changed a while ago, but yeah. Okay, so I apologize. Just a correction: you cannot get exile only from your sideboard with this card. I apologize. Correction: only from your sideboard. Okay, so yeah, I think this might be more of a B than a C because
Yeah, something like that.
a 2 mana 1/4 flyer is a pretty reasonable rate, and I think blue is probably like a card advantage, like kind of defensive color in this format. It doesn't seem like the blue cards are very aggressive from what we've seen so far, and the ability is actually pretty relevant, right? Because in the late game, lands are near dead. So in the late game, you could put this thing out on turn 2, and then you got a good blocker. And then in the late game, you just discard 2 lands you don't need, put it back in your hand. Then you go on your adventure.
Yeah.
Pick out some big just bomb card from your sideboard. I mean, I know you're not going to have that powerful of non-creatures, but hey, if you draft this card, you leave one of those counter spells we just saw in your sideboard, right? Even if you would have preferred to main it, you leave it in your board, and then suddenly you can go tutor up a counter spell in the late game, right? You can trade in 2 dead lands, get that counter spell, and then put your 1/4 flyer right back into play. Now that's not incredible, but remember, this is a 2 mana 1/4 flyer on the front half. And then you don't have to choose.
Exactly.
You can play this on turn 2 as a 1/4 flyer, and then you can still get the back half in the late game. So I think this is more of a B than a C. I'm gonna say this is a card that I wouldn't. It's not a slam, like it's not an A. It's definitely not an S. But this is a card I wouldn't be unhappy to first pick if I'm blue.
Yep.
I think it's like about the equivalent of like I don't know, like an efficient removal spell at common or something. Like I think this is a first pickable card, but not like a windmill slam.
Yeah, and I think if you have Fate of the Wishes as well, like I don't know what the mana fixing stuff is in this format, but if your deck just has random like mana fixing stuff, like you can go and wish for something that doesn't even belong in your deck, kind of thing, and then play that as well.
Oh, that's
Depends
interesting.
on the speed.
So this can go get a basic land from your sideboard because it's non-creature.
Oh yeah.
And then after that, you could then discard 2 of your whatever cards and then play it again and go get the other color card. This
That's
is
cool.
Yeah,
Wait a second. Here.
That's not a big deal. Like that's a lot of mana and setup and whatever. But that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty happy with a B as my rating on this card. I mean, look, this is a very unique card. I don't know if I've ever seen a card like this, but I think I like a B, not a C on this one. I'm gonna disagree.
And I will also mention that these are kind of the card designs that I find very interesting as well. Like cards where you're just like, well, what do I do with this? And then you kind of figure out like what you can do with it. As opposed to cards that say like, oh yeah, give your knight a +1/+1 counter kind of thing.
Yeah, these cards are just really cool looking. Like, when I started to see like a lot of the previews that were people were revealing last week, that's when I tweeted like, oh, Throne looks amazing because it's just the card design is so good lately.
Yep. Definitely. I mean, I wrote an article a while back, like 2 weeks ago, calling the age that we live in right now the golden age of Magic. So
I agree. Believe me. Listen, earlier this year, I was pretty pissed about a lot of the OP stuff. I vocalized that, and I'm going to give credit where it's due. I mean, the sets have been awesome since Dominaria. Like, the card design is just great.
Dude, it's so good. Okay. Next card here.
All right, Fairy Vandal, a colorless and a blue, 1/2, flash flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Fairy Vandal.
Okay, so I actually didn't play any Modern Horizons, which I know is so sad, but I didn't want to be tempted to stream Magic online and kill my stream. So I didn't play any of that, unfortunately, but I heard that this draw second card mechanic was something that was very common in Modern Horizons. Is that correct?
Yeah, blue-red was an archetype built around it. There was like 2 or 3 commons that did something pretty good in limited when you drew more than one card in a turn, and then there was just like cycling and like a lot of easy ways to do that. But of course, I don't think. Well, there's not cycling in this format, so it's probably much harder in Throne of Eldraine than it was in Modern Horizons to draw 2 cards in one turn.
I mean, this seems like a solid B to me, and it could even go up to an A depending on the deck. It seems like a very annoying card to deal with as flash, and it flies, and it grows. I think that, I don't know, it's everything that I want from a card.
I mean, in Modern Horizons, this would just be an A. You would just play this card on turn 2 and then cycle
Win the game.
Yeah, and then you just have a giant flyer on turn 2.
Oh, because you can cycle on their turn as well.
Yeah, this would be
but you need to draw 2 cards on their turn, I see.
Right, but this would be an A in Modern Horizons. But in Throne of Eldraine, I mean, I don't know how many cards there are in the whole set that draw cards, right? I mean,